In this exercise, we are going to continue modifying the Greet Friend application that we developed in the previous exercise. Starting with the Greet Friend application that we developed, we are now going to modify the Greet Friend application such that the user inputs his friend's name on one screen, and when the button is clicked, then the application will move to a second activity that will display the greeting string on the screen in a different activity. Now, to go ahead and do this modification to the Greet Friend application, let's start with the current state of the application. We're going to go in and modify the activity main.xml file. We will remove this hello world text view from the user interface because we are no longer going to need that in the extension of this exercise. So let's delete that hello world from there. We are now going to add a new activity to this application. To do that, go right there and then right click and say new activity blank activity. And when the window opens, type in the new name of the activity as show message and click on finish. Now, once the Android Studio goes through with its construction, it'll come up with the new activity called show message, where it'll fill in some basic template code and then also create this new layout for the new activity that we just added called show message. And correspondingly, the activity layout file will be called activity show message.xml. Now let's go into this activity and then modify this user interface so that the hello world string, which is now a text view, is going to be positioned at the center and slightly below. We have already seen how to do this in the previous exercises. In addition, we are going to modify the text size to be 24 points, just like what we did in the previous exercise. So we will go in and in the properties type in 24 sp and double click on the string and give the ID to this as text message. Note that we had removed the text view from the previous layout for the main activity, which was also named text message, and instead we are now inserting a text view in this new layout and giving it the same ID. So the order in which we do this is important. We first remove the text view from activity main.xml, then add the new activity called show message, and then go in and edit the user interface and then give the text view the same ID as we used before for the other text view. Once we have completed this part, let's go ahead and then modify the code in order to activate the new activity and in order to move from the main activity to the show message activity when the user clicks on the greetings button. Let's now switch to main activity.java file. Now in this file, we saw that we were setting the text message text string value to the greeting that we displayed together with the friend's name. Now we have removed that text view from the UI of the main activity and instead are going to use the text view of the show message activity in order to display the screen. The basic flow of the app will remain same until the user clicks the greet button. When the user clicks the greet button, we are now going to cause a switch from the main activity to the show message activity. Indeed, when the user clicks on the greet button, we're going to start the show message activity and then display the greeting string in the user interface for the show message activity. To do that, first and foremost, we need to learn how we start a new activity from the current activity. To help us do that, we'll go into the code here and then we will edit the code and say intent and in and equal to new intent, and we'll say this and show message dot class. Now this is the procedure for declaring and creating an intent. An intent is a message passing mechanism that is built into Android that enables you to pass messages from one component to another component through the Android framework. We will examine intents and its details in greater length in one of the later discussions. Now again, let's import the library for intent. Now this is the way we will declare an intent. Now if we need to start a new activity, now we will take this intent and then we are supposed to say start activity and supply the intent here. Now this is how we will start a new activity from the current activity. Now between these two statements, there is that message string that we just constructed and then pass it to set the text message text view. Now we have to pass this string to the new activity so that the new activity will display this string in the text view on its UI layout. So to do that, we need to replace this statement by appropriately modifying it. Android allows intents to carry additional information from one activity to another activity. So essentially, intent, as I mentioned, is a message passing mechanism. It will also carry some payload along with it. So to do so, we are going to pass the string that we just constructed over to the show message activity through adding some extra payload to this intent. In order to pass the string from the current activity to the next activity, we're going to take the help of a method called as putExtra that is part of the intent class. So we would say intent putExtra, and we would specify a string name here. So we will just say message. The reason why we use the first string name is that when you pass this intent to the second activity, when the second activity gets started, it will have access to the same intent and it can then retrieve the information that we send through this intent from the current activity to the next activity. So the putExtra is a method of passing information from one activity to another activity using the intent to carry it as a payload. Now here we are going to move this particular string that we constructed, the message string, and then add it in as a parameter to this putExtra, and then we're going to delete this text message. Statement here. So we have now modified the main activity.java such that when the green button is clicked, it will result in the creation of an intent. The intent will carry the string, the greeting string, as its payload, and then we're going to pass this intent to the Android framework by calling start activity method of the Android framework. Now, when the start activity method is called, the Android framework will in turn then go ahead and start the new activity. The new activity is specified in the intent here as showMessage.class. So we have completed the modification to the main activity.java. Let's go ahead and save this modification, and we will switch to the showMessage.java class. When you go to the showMessage.java class, now when this activity gets created, obviously you realize that the onCreate method of this activity is going to be called. So we are going to go into the onCreate method of this showMessage activity, and in here we can say intent in and say get intent. So this is a way of obtaining the intent that started this activity. Again, when you see the red line, import the appropriate by holding the Alt Enter or Option Enter, depending on whether you're using a Windows or a Mac machine. Now, once you obtain the intent, we will now be able to extract the string message that came in. So I will now say string message, and I would say in, and here we are going to specify it as in get string extra, and then the parameter to this get string extra method would be the exact same string that we used in the main activity.java. In the main activity.java, we use the string as message. So I'm going to use the same string here and then specify it here. This is the way for extracting the string that came in as the payload in the intent object. Now, once we have obtained the message, now we can go ahead and then set the text view on the user interface to the message that we just obtained. So to do that, we will say, we'll go in and say we'll text view. This is a pattern that we have already seen earlier. In order to obtain the reference to the text view, so we would say find view by ID. We have already given this an ID as text message. So once we complete that, all that I need to do next is to say text message set text and supply message as the parameter. Now this completes the modification to the showMessage.java file, and so now the showMessage activity will be able to obtain the message string that was passed to it from the main activity.java file. So let's go ahead and save this and then run this app. Once the app starts running on the emulator, or if you're using a device, it'll be shown on the screen of your device. You now see the modified user interface for the Greet Friend application. Let's go ahead and type in our friend's name, say John, and then click on the greetings button. And then you would notice that when you click on the greetings button, the app now switches from the main activity to the show message activity. And in the show message activity, we are displaying the message as Good Day John. With this, we complete this exercise where we have seen how we can introduce a new activity into our app and how we can start one activity from another activity by using an intent. And also, we have seen how we can pass information from one activity to another activity using the payload facility that is available within the intent. So you are going to use the put extra in the first activity to add the information to the intent, and in the second activity you're going to use the getExtra methods to retrieve the information from the intent.